Most people have never heard of a courtyard barndominium. Not really. They've seen the H shape. They've seen the wings. They've never been told why the shape exists. It solves 5 problems no other design touches, problems that show up the day a parent can't manage stairs anymore, or an adult child moves back home, or a grandkid starts sleeping over every weekend. 2 wings, 1 connecting spine. A courtyard in between that does more work than any room in the house. Architects and aging-in-place specialists keep circling back to this footprint for one reason. It lets a family live close without living on top of each other. Privacy and presence in the same floor plan. By the end of this, you'll either be sketching your own courtyard barndo, or you'll know exactly why it's not for you. Both are worth a few minutes. Let's go. A courtyard barndominium is built on an H-shaped footprint. 2 wings connected by a central spine with an open courtyard sitting in the gap between them. From above, it genuinely looks like the letter H. That's not an accident. That's the whole engineering logic. 1 wing holds the main living space. Kitchen, living room, primary bedroom. The other wing holds a secondary suite, a space that can function almost independently. Its own bedroom, its own bathroom, often its own small kitchenette. The spine in the middle is the connector. Mudroom hallway, sometimes a shared dining space that pulls both wings together for dinner. The courtyard itself sits outside, framed by both wings and the spine. 3 sides of building, 1 side open to the yard. It's sheltered. It's visible from almost every room. A parent in the second wing can see grandkids playing in that courtyard without leaving their own space. That's the whole point. Genuinely. This isn't a new idea dressed up in modern siding. Multi-generational households are rising again in the United States, and families are rediscovering a floor plan that already existed for exactly this purpose. The shape didn't need to be invented. It needed to be remembered. Everything single-story. No stairs to negotiate at 70. No hauling a walker up a landing. Wide doorways, wide hallways, a footprint that spreads out instead of stacking up. The trade-off is land. The payoff is decades of independence. 5 reasons this design keeps coming up when the conversation turns to aging in place. One of them is the reason nobody expects. Reason 3 isn't about accessibility. It isn't about square footage either. It's about what happens to a caregiving relationship when the house itself stops forcing supervision. Hold that thought. Start with the single-story footprint. Every room in a courtyard barndo sits on one level, and that decision does more for an aging body than almost any other feature in the house. No stairs means no fall risk on stairs. No stairs means a walker, a cane, or eventually a wheelchair moves through the house without a single obstacle. Now add the light. Because the wings wrap around a courtyard, most rooms get exposure on 2 sides instead of 1. Windows on the courtyard side. Windows on the outer wall. Light moves through the house from morning to evening, room to room, without a single dark hallway in between. That matters more than it sounds like it should. Poor lighting is one of the most common contributors to falls in older adults. And a home that stays bright without relying on lamps in every corner is a genuinely safer home. Engineers who work in aging-in-place design bring this up constantly. Light isn't decoration here. It's a safety feature wearing a nice coat. The structural side is simple too. A single-story H-shape doesn't need the load-bearing complexity of a 2-story build. Fewer structural surprises. Fewer places for a contractor to cut corners you won't see until it's too late. Wide-open barn trusses overhead, clear spans across the living area, no support columns breaking up the sightline. Wide sightlines aren't just pretty. They let a caregiver, a spouse, or an adult child glance across the house and know someone's okay. 1 story, well-lit, structurally honest. That's reason 1, and it's the foundation everything else sits on. Here's where the H-shape actually earns its letter. 2 wings means 2 zones. 1 wing for the primary household. 1 wing for an aging parent, a returning adult child, or eventually a live-in caregiver. separated but connected. This solves the argument every multi-generational family has before they build. Somebody wants closeness. Somebody else wants a door they can close. The wing on the far side of the courtyard gives both. A private entrance if the lot allows it. A private bathroom always. Often a small kitchenette, a sink, a mini fridge, a 2-burner cooktop, so mornings don't require walking across the house for coffee. That kitchenette detail matters more than most builders admit up front. The single biggest objection to multi-generational floor plans has always been the shared kitchen. Nobody wants to negotiate counter space with their in-laws at 7 in the morning. A secondary kitchenette in the far wing isn't a luxury add-on. It's the detail that makes the whole arrangement livable long-term. The spine in the middle does the social work the wings can't. It's where the family actually meets, a shared dining table, a mudroom everyone passes through, a hallway that connects two private worlds without merging them. Geometry does the social work here, not house rules. Nobody has to enforce boundaries when the floor plan already drew them. Privacy and presence, not privacy instead of presence. Both at the same time because the wings and the spine are built to hold both. Here's the reason nobody expects. A courtyard barndo doesn't just protect privacy. It changes the emotional texture of caregiving itself. In a cramped house, checking on an aging parent means interrupting them, knocking, opening a door, making your presence known whether they wanted company or not. Over months and years, that wears on both people. The parent starts to feel watched. The adult child starts to feel like a warden instead of a son or daughter. The courtyard breaks that pattern. Because the wings face each other across open, visible space, a family member can genuinely see that mom is fine reading on her porch, watering something, sitting in the sun without ever knocking on her door. Presence without supervision. That phrase gets used a lot in aging-in-place design circles, and this is the floor plan that actually delivers it. It's a small architectural trick with a large emotional payoff. The parent keeps their dignity. The family keeps their peace of mind. Nobody has to choose between the two because the courtyard is doing the watching so the people don't have to. This is also where the historical root of this design becomes more than trivia. Courtyard living isn't a modern invention dressed up for a YouTube thumbnail. Roman villas were built around a central atrium more than 2,000 years ago, specifically so multiple generations of one family could live under a shared roof while keeping separate quarters. The instinct families feel today, wanting closeness without collision, is the same instinct that shaped homes 2 millennia ago. Ancient and proven. Single-story, wide-footprint homes carry a real engineering advantage when it comes to comfort, and that advantage compounds as the people living in it age. Heating and cooling, a single level is simpler than zoning a 2-story house room by room. No fighting over whether the upstairs is freezing while downstairs bakes. One HVAC zone, evenly distributed, easier to keep at a consistent temperature, which matters a great deal for older bodies that regulate heat and cold less efficiently than younger ones. The courtyard itself creates a passive microclimate. Enclosed on 3 sides, it blocks wind, holds warmth in cooler months, and with the right roof overhangs, shades the wings from direct summer sun. Homes built around courtyards have shown real reductions in cooling load compared to a fully exposed footprint, simply because 2 of the 4 walls are shielded by the building itself. For families in colder climates, this design isn't off the table. It just needs adaptation. Deeper wall insulation, low-E glass on courtyard-facing windows, a steeper roof pitch engineered for snow load instead of runoff. Northern builders have been adapting courtyard footprints for exactly this reason, and the shape holds up. It just asks for a different set of specs, not a different floor plan. Standing seam metal roofing helps here too, sheds snow cleanly, holds up against decades of weather, and keeps maintenance low for an owner who may not be climbing a ladder at 80. Passive comfort, honest engineering, adapted to the site. That's reason 4. The fifth reason is the one that makes this floor plan worth building even before anyone in the family needs it. The second wing doesn't have one job. It has a decade-by-decade job. In year one, it might be a home office or a guest suite. A few years later, a nursery for a young family or a landing spot for an adult child starting their first job. A decade after that, it becomes exactly what this video is about, a private suite for an aging parent. And eventually, if the time comes, it can convert into a caregiver suite, built to house full-time help without anyone moving out of the main wing. One footprint, 4 or 5 different lives without a single addition or renovation. That's the real argument for building this way before you need it, not after. Families who wait until a parent's health forces the decision are building under pressure, on a timeline, often for more money than a plan built calmly, years in advance. This is the heart of the home in the most literal sense, not the kitchen, not the living room, the wing that keeps reinventing itself as the family's needs change, generation after generation, without asking anyone to leave. This channel doesn't sell plans, and it isn't going to pretend this design fits every family or every lot. 3 honest trade-offs, no softening. First, cost and land. A single-story H-shape covers more ground than a 2-story home with the same square footage. More foundation, more roofline, more site work. If you're on a narrow or expensive lot, this footprint gets harder to justify financially before it even gets started. This is a design to build for the future, not something every family can do right now, and that's genuinely fine. Second, design difficulty. The proportions between the wings, the spine, and the courtyard are unforgiving. Get the spine too long and the house feels disconnected, 2 separate buildings pretending to be one. Get it too short and the privacy the design promises disappears. This is not a floor plan to sketch on a napkin and hand to a general contractor. Commission it properly, with someone who understands the geometry, or don't do it at all. Third, site limitations. Courtyard homes want a flat, reasonably wide lot to spread out on. Steep terrain, heavily wooded sites, or oddly shaped parcels fight this footprint at every turn. It's not impossible on a difficult site. It's just genuinely harder, and the budget needs to reflect that honestly before ground gets broken. One more note worth saying out loud. Nobody needs a pool to make the courtyard work. Garden, fire pit, play area, gravel, and a bench. The space flexes to whatever the family actually uses, not whatever looks best in a listing photo. An AARP survey found that roughly 3 out of 4 adults over 50 want to stay in their own home as they age, not move into someone else's idea of what elder care should look like. A courtyard barndominium is one of the few floor plans actually engineered to make that possible for an entire family, not just one person. 2 wings, 1 spine, a courtyard doing quiet, constant work in the middle. Privacy and presence, held at the same time in the same house. If you've sketched something like this on the back of a napkin for years without knowing it had a name, you weren't imagining things. Families have been building this way for centuries, for exactly the reasons your gut already knew. 2 questions for the comments this time. First, the practical one, would a courtyard footprint like this actually fit your lot, or would you need to rethink the shape? Second, the harder one, of the 5 reasons in this video, which one hit hardest for your family? I read every comment on these videos and I respond personally, so don't hold back. If content that goes this deep into the reasoning behind a design, not just the pictures, but the why, is useful to you, subscribe. There's more of this coming. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.